Media is toxic as shit, isn't it? I don't know if y'all feel the same way. It's just toxic. Mainstream media, all they do is play the race card, and not in the sense that, white conservatives like to throw around the term race card. But, they act like they care, they give a shit about black people. Every time I turn on the TV, they want to talk about, some police officer fucking up. You got the guy in, what was that, Orange County, California. He was jaywalking and the video came out, and, he had schizoaffective disorder, which is basically schizophrenia with a mood disorder. Could be bipolar disorder or depression. So you're schizophrenic with a mood disorder. And, as I said in my video with, about, what was it, Oakland and Chinatown and all that, I said, we got a lot of black people in the black community, due to lack of resources, that don't get the support that they need. When it comes to the white kids, and when they're all messed up, they get put in a home. They get sent off to work at Chick-fil-A and Walmart. They have support. They're not gonna be without support. But with black people, it's a coin toss. And what did I say? The 1 in 4 of the police shootings that happen, the interactions where somebody gets shot, the person has mental issues. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk about. I'm just I'm tired of just the way that, where the left is going, and Joe Biden, and all this symbolism, and we're going to talk about race and everything, right? And you get the white people, they on the other side, they're sick and tired of the conversation, right? Because they're not going to do anything to fix it. They want to, boo-hoo, pat themselves on the back. Oh, we acknowledged it. Oh, but they don't want to change anything. On top of the fact that they still carry their biases, or their the way that they view things, completely out of context, right? They got these threads, these news threads, these online news articles, and man, I swear a lot of these articles are just trolling the shit out of white people, trying to trigger them. And white people all in the comment section foaming at the mouth, with their, I'm gonna tell you the biggest issue with white people: they don't know history. What is taught in school in American history is slavery was a long time ago, and then it just ended in the 60s. People marched a little bit, and then it was just all over. Let these people tell it. The world, the America started in 1980. Let them tell it. They don't know anything about the policies that were put in place that specifically benefited white people and literally directly undermined black people. The redlining, the blockbusting, the eminent domain, the urban renewal, the job discrimination, the housing covenants, the dumping of drugs in the black community, the killing and assassination of black leaders, the burning down of Tulsa, Elaine, Arkansas, Rosewood, and what else? There was another thing I was going to say, and it just slipped my mind. But these are policies that were put in place, where white people were the beneficiaries. We can move into Levittown. The government will subsidize that. We will create, a white middle class. And black people, you're excluded. And all that wealth that was accumulated from equity in homes, you don't get to partake in that. Then when you talk about reparations for slavery, white people, they lose their shit. They start foaming at the mouth like you're taking from them. And black people, built this country, blood, sweat, and tears, fought for this country, and then white people got the audacity to just look at black people like they some mooches. And at the end of the day, it's about power. They keep I keep seeing these white people in the comment section act like it's a meritocracy. And I'm like, no, it's not. At the end of the day, white people want to maintain power. Anytime white people try to deny white supremacy, all you got to do is point out the fact that white people have internal conflicts of power with each other. Classism came before racism. And so, it's easy to see how if white people are fighting, a power struggle internally, that they're easily fighting a power struggle externally. It's not a meritocracy. It's about keeping, white wealth and dollars in the hands of white people. And the way that is done is by, making sure black people don't have access to, some of the same things that white people had access to, namely housing, with property values going up in particular areas. I mean, the inequality is like baked into the system. Even if you want to talk about, housing and all that, and then it's like people say, oh, we don't want to live in a particular area if Negroes are going to act and behave such a way. Like, they're acting and behaving in such a way as a result of prolonged exposure to poverty. And I don't know how you fix that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they made the situation worse. You go back to the 50s and the 60s, and black people were well-dressed, and you see all the black people marching and everything. Black people really were trying to be accepted by white America, and white America still gave them their ass to kiss. And so you got a whole, 3-4 generations of black people who grew up saying, man, fuck all that, man. We kissing white people's ass, doing all that shit. And they still said, kiss my white ass. You know what I'm saying? So you got all these subcultures that have, come up and been devised, right? And, some things of the subcultures are beautiful, and the music and, the interactions and the not operating by white people's standards, because if you're outside the system, what do you need to adhere to their system and their structure for, right? Right? But then it ends up being a double-edged sword, and it's a catch-22 to where, you're trying to operate and function and bring resources into the community, and then you got all these other little subcultures like hook a brother up, and we should be operating differently, and Hotep, and all this other magical shit, and it's like you can't get anything done, right? Or you have these sort of mentalities that come out of struggle, that are just they're toxic. They're not going to get black people anywhere. You know what I mean? The self-hatred due to white people's anti-personal indoctrination of ourselves, whether it's racist cartoons or negative depictions of black people. Kat was telling me about some movie with Will Smith, and I don't know if he was with Jada Pinkett in the movie, but he's in some movie, and he's like in the military or something, and then he's with a woman, and she's a stripper, and they meet the first lady, and then she says something to the effect, she was like, what do you do? She's like, I'm a dancer. And she's like, the ballet. And she's like, exotic dancer. And then she's like, it's okay. It helps me pay the bills and take care of my kids and all this other shit. And even Kat was just like, he's like, why the fuck did they put that in the movie? Like, it had nothing to do with enhancing the plot line. Not only that, but whoever the major in the movie was, he apparently didn't get promoted because he was with some sort of stripper. I don't know what movie he was talking about, but it's just like shit like that. It's just an example, that he threw at me, of a movie, and I'm just using it as an example here. But I still, like, as black people, we still don't get it. We really just still don't get it. I watched that video that Vice did on, the black militant group, that it's Black Lives Matter, and they're talking on the Second Amendment shit. Y'all niggas be doing too much talking, man. Real talk. Y'all do too much talking, too much fantasy Wakanda forever type of shit. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't ready. Y'all talking about, we gonna fight this and fight that. You know what gets me when I see people that always, train and shoot guns and everything. And the first thing that pisses me off, fat people. Fat people, y'all piss me off when you go out there. I'm gonna get my guns. Even when you get even Angry Cop, he did a video on the shit talking about soldiers and motherfuckers' stomachs spilling out the bottom of their plate carrier and stuff like that. Like, who are you fighting? You're a big ass target. Like, who are you fighting? Like, you can't move. You can't get in the cover and shit. You try to get behind a tree, and two sides of you are sticking out around the tree. Like, come on, man. Like, so they had this big sister in there, and I'm just like, really? I'm like, y'all need to get that weight. Y'all ain't training. You need to go and watch some of these Navy SEALs and all that shit. I'm just saying, if you really about going to war and all that other shit, which, is just totally unrealistic on the white side and the black side, because it ain't really going to go down like that. The people that's going to really come for you is like the type of shit that you see in Hurricane Katrina. Let the economy collapse and all that shit. Let there be some natural disaster and everything. That's when black people really got to be armed, because white people get stupid and they get beside themselves. That's where the biggest threat is, in terms of white people coming around the purge and grabbing their guns and doing stupid shit and, just shooting any random black person, swearing up and down that, that they're trying to steal, thinking that they can justify it with that type of bullshit. That's where a real fight would be, but all this shit, all this fantasy, we're going to take government and everything else. Yeah, you see what happened to white boys that tried to storm the Capitol, right? You know what I mean? Like, some of y'all just be in fantasy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, have what you need. And when motherfuckers bring that noise to you, then, handle it however you see fit. But all this, we out here training, like, I'm like, you sound as retarded as those damn white militias in the woods and shit like that, talking about, the fucking, the WROL and what's the other one? What's the other one? Shit hits the fan and all this other stuff. But, no, I don't know. I just, it's nice that black people, they can get all, like, we just get so caught up in the symbolism. You know what I mean? And again, people like myself, people like Black Authority, people like Black Truth Professor Black Truth, always saying his name all fucked up, and then many other people. But those two in particular have been beating the drum, about, black people, falling for the okie doke. And I'm pissed off that we got to wait a whole nother election cycle. And honestly, it's not the time to do it. Because you got a Democrat in office and all this other shit. I mean, you could still do it, but I mean, it would have been so much more effective if Donald Trump had re-won the election with 20% of the black male vote in particular. And black people not going for it. But again, we got this divide with black men and black women and the social justice warriors and black women with their whole identity crisis about, smash the patriarchy and letting trans LGBT in the room and, wanting to reorganize the race and kicking all the light skinned women out. I mean, they're just, there's too much shit going on over there. They're not going to, side with, they're not going to approach it from even a strategic standpoint in terms of what black people should do as a collective, putting our differences aside as black men and black women. It's not going to be like that. You know what I mean? It's going to be, where we got to, whatever, the feelings and the emotions and the symbolism and, you go girl and feminism and, women are getting 70 cents to the dollar, all that shit that moves women. And we're going to do something out here for single mother. All you got to do is say all that shit. Next thing you know, all those women going to vote in that direction. So there is no coordinated effort. But I mean, it's just, I really would have loved to see black people just stick it to the Democrats. Like, nah, motherfucker, you think you just going to sit up here and just ignore us? Like, oh, hell no. Nah, we need this, and this. And I'm glad a lot of people are seeing it now. All this shit, the Democrat, what about the LGBTs? And what about the Asian community? And what about the any other group that's not even American? We got to worry about them. Hey, what about the black people that got you in the office? Oh, nigga, get back. We ain't got nothing for you. I just... And I look at MSNBC, and every time I turn it on, they're just beating the drum. Like, in other words, they're giving black people lip service. You know what I mean? They're giving black people serious just lip service. They're not going to do anything for you, which is one of the things that I'm glad the brother from the Black Lives Matter, said in the video. He's one of the only male voices affiliated with Black Lives Matter, one of the chapters. But I'm saying, I'm glad he said that part. You know what I mean? And my favorite part of the video where he responded to the black, Vice, interviewer, and he was like, "Are you mad at me for saying it or mad at them for doing it?" And I was like, "Ooh," I was like, "That's a good one. I'm gonna take that one. I'm gonna take that one. I'm writing that one down." But I mean, it's just, but you got the guy with the jaywalk. Last month you had, the whole black family in Colorado that the cops had all spready on the ground, face down on the ground. The children were terrified and all that shit. And it's like, yeah, y'all point that out, but I haven't seen any policies coming from, Joe Biden. And honestly, it's like, I don't even know how you're going to see any policies. But the fact of the matter is, it's just like, a lot of these white folks out here are just racist like that. Like this, it's just in their heart. It's based on a lot of different things, but mainly fear of loss, fear of being replaced. That like white people are out here trying to make themselves to be the victims. And it's going to get worse. As long as the economy's fucked up, you're going to see more and more, racial injustice. You're going to see more and more savagery. That's what you're going to see. And then, by the same token, we got the whole criminal element in the black community, which is exacerbated by COVID and the poverty that already existed, and the fact that we were in the middle of an opioid, epidemic, and it does look bad. The optics are terrible. You black people up there, all the cops is killing us, all the cops. And then Ray and Pookie. And then not even old Ray and Pookie's, young Ray and Pookie's. Niggas is like 15, 16 years old, just blowing each other away. Pow, 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 pow. Just blowing each other away out here. It's like, yo, this is retarded. Like, this shit looks stupid. And they're too young to realize what they're doing. You always notice, like, the old, Pookie, he always got some wisdom and shit. You ever notice that? If the nigga makes it to like 50 or 60 and shit like that, he's like, man, all that shit is just dumb, man. I mean, we was wilding, we was doing this and having shootouts and shit. I made it. A couple of my homies, they dead, they this, they that. I went off and had a kid and everything. We doing all right. And everybody else is just like all fucked up and shit. And they're like, yeah, we don't need to be doing this and everything. But yeah, it still goes on. Like, it still just goes on because nobody really wants to address the root of the problem. And, even black people have their own way of coming in the room, just like white folks, with non-solutions. We'll give them words of encouragement, and like that's going to do something. They just had a white comedian recently. If the clip was hilarious, but he talked about why poor blacks and poor whites beat their kids. Same thing I said a long time ago. They don't have nothing to take away. You go in the white suburbs, families that have resources, when their kids act up, you know what they say? They say, that's it, I'm taking these resources away. I'm taking this away. I'm taking your car. I'm taking your cell phone. I'm taking your PlayStation 5. I'm taking this. I'm taking that. No internet for you. No MacBook for you. No iPad for you. No Netflix for you. But see, you don't have shit. You know what I'm saying? How can you do, create negative reinforcement? Right? Because you're taking things away. But if you don't have anything to take away, what do you get? We know what you get. It's just, I just see, like, black people irritate me because they're not maneuvering the right way. White people irritate me because, like, they're shit logic. Like, I just rather them just shut up. You know what I mean? Like, they can't even, like there's sophisticated racists, You know what I mean? Which I can kind of tolerate. I'm like, at least you tried to come up with some bullshit to justify your shit. But then you get like these like foaming at the mouth, racist, just non-critically thinking, just the ones that they're just like that, and that I'm like, that's your explanation. So we just going to completely ignore, pretty much all of American history and, how that, created the situation, to how we got to. That's like literally starting a movie, like at the end. That's like watching Sicario at the end of the fucking movie. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lead up, there's like a progression. It reminds me of Bill Burr when he's talking about, never hitting a woman, and women act like ass whoopings just come out of nowhere, like as though the dude just walks in like, bitch, I said scrambled, and just starts beating her ass, as opposed to like there's a lead up, there's an argument, there's a back and forth. You know what I mean? There's a fuck you, that's why I fucked your brother. You know what I mean? Then next thing you know, there's violence, right? There's a lead up, to the fucking violence. You know what I mean? But white people, man, the shit logic's just like 9/11, like I used to say. Like, they just fucking, they attacked us because they hate us because of our freedom. I'm like, how many times y'all gonna say that dumbass shit? They hate us because of who we are as Americans. How many times y'all gonna say that dumbass shit and act like it sounds good? Like, act like yes, that's what it is. Like, how did these motherfuckers land on the goddamn moon with this shit? Like how does the people that say this dumb shit accomplish that? Like, that's what I ask myself sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm like, y'all can do all this shit. You know what I'm saying? Hadron Collider, thermonuclear weapons, and all this other bullshit, lasers and all that crap. But then when it comes to, the social aspects of race interactions, they come up with the dumbest shit ever. You just be sitting there reading it like for real, that's all you got, like for real. That's your explanation, like for real. Anyway, I needed to just get that off my chest because I just can't stand the fucking media. They want to talk about we need censorship and everything, and it's just the way that these new like apps that they have that just spit out music. It's all negative. That's another thing. It's negative as fuck. And it's all race baiting. It race based in both directions. You know what I mean? It's like, it'll say, have some title like I don't know, something about reparations for slavery. White people owe black people reparations for. There was an article about reparations for slavery, and this shit was from, it was just about reparations. It didn't even say reparations for slavery specific. It was about South Africa. It was a South African person talking about how they owed the blacks, and it's a long list. It was on like the Tucson Post. Anyway, all white people did, they didn't even take the time to read the fucking the post. They just immediately went into like all these classic, black people, we don't owe them anything, and da da da. They started talking about American slavery, and I didn't own any slaves, and da 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 da. The article's from South Africa. It was an article that a South African wrote about how they've mistreated the South Africans and the Zulus and wiped them out, and the wealth inequality. Broken down. Yeah, there's parallels, there's similarities, but I'm saying the white people, they look at the title, and this is the sign of a dumbass. And I know this goes on in the black community, but these white folks are really bad with this shit. They'll just read the title, get triggered, think it's like some liberal like piece. Sometimes it's not even a liberal piece, it's a conservative piece, but they don't even take the time to read it. And in the comment sections, they're just typing up a storm, writing novels, foaming at the mouth. And I know I need to calm down, because it's like somebody always tells me, you know what your problem is? Yes, I know what my problem is. And she says, what is it? And I say, as you always say, it's the fact that I give people too much credit. She was like, yep. And you're going to frustrate yourself to high hell if you keep doing that. You know, she's like, most people, they're dumb and they don't have the capacity, and you need to recognize that. I'm like, man, that's a dangerous world to live in. It's a really dangerous world to live in. Like, as much as I'm pro Second Amendment, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you got so many dumbasses out here. You know, like just non-critical thinking. And honestly, I think it all stems back to, you know, shitty ass education. I think we need better education. You know, and that's another thing. Like, they'll have articles talking about, you know, we need to have African American studies, and like, no, you just need to give history, but the aspects of history that y'all don't talk about. Like, talk about, you know, the assassination of Malcolm X, or talk about, you know, Richard Aoki and how the FBI used him as an informant to, you know, arm the Black Panthers and instigate armed conflict between the Black Panthers and the police so they could shift popular opinion against the Black Panthers. Talk about that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, freaking Vox News does a better job of that. You know, that whole North Carolina, Wilmington insurrection of 1898. Like, I didn't know about that shit. I'm like, damn. I mean, there's so much history to the shit. There's so much stuff that you don't learn in school. All you learn is there was slavery, and then there was Martin Luther King, and he gave a great speech, I have a dream, and then, you know, it was just all over. And then in the 80s, it was Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, and a bunch of other random people, and Madonna, and they were singing "We Are the World," and that was the end of racism. I mean, I'm telling you, like that, because the thing is like, a lot of these white people, like, they are dumb and they're ignorant, but I'm saying, you know, I can kind of weed out the people that are like really hateful and they know what they're doing and it's malicious. But then there's other people, I'm like, you don't know the history. Like, they've never been confronted with facts on the history. And this is why black people need to become more well-versed in the shit. Because when you're spitting, because they love to say facts over feelings. Okay, well, you need to come with them facts. You need to be able to rattle off and list your shit when you're breaking stuff down. They probably don't even know what redlining and blockbusting is. You need to know what redlining and blockbusting, if you're going to engage in a conversation. You know what I mean? But most of the black people that I see and what the media throws up there, there are always these pro-blacks that always go up there and talk about, you know, afros and dashikis and freaking hair grease. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, up there talking about blue magic and shit. Like, I'm like, bro, you got to come with some facts. It's like the Second Amendment people that always go up there and you know, whenever they talk about I'm talking about the white guys that talk about the Second Amendment. I support the Second Amendment, but I'm saying I break shit down on the Second Amendment. But you always get those white guys, they enter the room and, you know, they just, you know, it'll be some complex issue about magazine bans and everything. These motherfuckers come in the room, you know, it says shall not be infringed. It's like, bro, you gotta come with more than that. You gotta come with more than, you know, it says shall not be infringed. 1776 will be upon you. I'm like, you didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? People are getting shot. You know, it's tragic. You gotta come with more than just it says shall not be infringed, bro. You gotta at least articulate. You know what I mean? Or at least say, look, we live in a free society. If we're going to have access to firearms, you can't minority report your way out of the fact that people are going to be capable of misusing firearms in a free society. You know what I'm saying? You got 330 million people, 330 million guns. And then on top of the crime guns that are already in the black market. If you disarm all the people that can legally purchase a firearm, then all the criminals are going to have firearms, and they'll be running around looking like Brazil or South Africa when you pull in your garage and you get the banditos on the little mopeds that pull up and try to rob you. You know what I'm saying? Because in those nations you can't carry like that. Like, I'm just saying, give it a little bit more thought. But like, look, most people are dumbasses. You know what I mean? And look, even Socrates recognized it when it came to, you know, the problem with the democracy. And he talked about that. He talked about demagoguery and how you can have somebody like Donald Trump go up there, give them candy. And then they're like, yeah. And the people are like, yeah. And that's what politics has turned into. All these politicians, all they're going to do is go up there and make these wild ass promises. There will no longer be an attack on the Second Amendment. Yeah. And everybody goes votes for him. Right? Joe Biden, you know what I'm saying? There will no longer be, racist police stops. All the black people are like, yeah, right? And doesn't do shit about it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're looking at two different sides of the fucking same coin. It's a whole bunch of bad cop, good cop, bad cop, good cop. You know what I mean? The Republicans, they want a strong, they want Democrats to be strong, because then they can say, well, we couldn't pass anything because, the Democrats are blocking us. The Democrats want a strong Republican Party, so they can say, well, we couldn't pass anything because, the Republicans were blocking us. That way, nothing gets done. The status quo, gets maintained, and these motherfuckers go and, have freaking, tea together at Camp David. Laughing and joking and all that shit. And meanwhile, all the black people, they struggling, they out of a job. All the white people in middle America and rural America, they don't have a job. You got two people ain't got a pot to piss in. And what I hate is, like, when you point these things out, there's always that white person that's always like, yeah, see, we're on the same team. And like, no, motherfucker, like black people are owed. They've been seriously fucked. You're not just going to come in like, well, everything, see, we're both at the bottom, so everything's equal now. So, we should be fighting, the powers that be and just move in that direction. No, black people are owed. Fuck you. They always want to try to act like, once you come to some, moment of, don't we see this with 2020 clarity, that all of a sudden, that means that all the shit that black people are owed, like, somehow is going to be, erased from the bank sheets. I'm like, fuck you. Nah, that's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? As bad as white people may be doing in rural America, you're still a member of the dominant society. This system still favors you. From the banks all the way to the institutions, it still favors you. And that's another thing. Like, it's like, it's like a white woman bitching about some black woman winning a beauty contest or something like that. It's like, bitch, all the goddamn motherfucking promotion you get. And I look at white people the same way. I'm like, let me get this right. So, all the universities are in your name. You control, the banking system. You control Wall Street. You control, the educational system, right? Everything, you control the police department. Everything white people already control. Black people try to make the slightest inroad, and white people just, they just start foaming at the mouth. I'm like, God damn, are you that fragile? Are you that fragile? It'd be 90. It's like, let's say it's 100% white precincts, and I say we need one black precinct. White people come in. Oh, they're trying to replace us. Oh. I'm like, you have 9 out of fucking 10 precincts. You have 9 out of 10 police stations. I'm saying we need a black police station over here in this predominantly black area. And these white police officers, it shouldn't be 100% white police officers policing a 90% black area. Y'all wouldn't tolerate that shit. You wouldn't tolerate a police department of nothing but black police officers policing white people. They wouldn't tolerate that shit. I mean, I wish there were more black police officers that were really honest about the type of shit that they got to deal with when, despite the fact that they have a badge on, those white people, they don't like being told what to do. You know what I mean? I mean, the hypocrisy it's so thick you can cut it with a knife. All this shit, the motherfucker storming the Capitol and all this bullshit and what happened to Blue Lives Matter? Blue Lives Matter doesn't exist anymore. Now, again, when it's black people getting into it with police, it's Blue Lives Matter. When it's white people getting into it with police, it's tyranny. It's tyranny, and we must tear down the federal government and all this other bull. I mean, the hypocrisy is insane. I mean, it's just insane. And it's like, I know some black people are going to say, well, this is to be expected. Like, we told you to stop fucking with them cracker-ass crackers. Like, I already know that's what they're going to say. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, see, we already told you that they're just fucked up. That's how it is. Why are you trying to negotiate and have conversations with them and all this other shit? Why are you even bothering with them? They're just like that. And the more I read comment sections, I'm not going to lie, I start feeling that way. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, these motherfuckers is just not rational. And it's way more, and I understand because, that's what trolls do, and that's what people, who are engaged, like example, if an article is written that's about guns or gun laws or something like that, whether it's pro or negative, the only people that are going to be reading Second Amendment stuff are people who actually are firearms owner or care about guns. So when it comes to like the racial shit, like you're going to get the racist white people that are going to come out the woodwork. The white people who aren't racist aren't scouring the internet looking for articles to counter the racism in the comment section coming from other white people. Like they're not making that their job. They're not like, oh, look at these racist white people. Let me go in here and try to counter this. Like that's not what they're doing. They're focused on other things because they're saying to themselves, well, I'm not racist, so it doesn't affect me, whatever, and that's how they operate. But anyway, I know my sandwich is getting cold. It's probably already cold. Nah, it's still got some heat to it. So anyway, that's my little rant. That's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.